we only have 2 planes. This is a sequence of pictures of that third tower that went down. I don't know how much detailed knowledge you have about 9/11. So I maybe have to ask you, how many people in the room were not aware that 3 towers went down? Just a show of hands that I know. Okay. And who was aware that 3 towers went down? Okay, it's 50-50. Okay. I'm not, going to split this according to nations, but it's just the basic knowledge that you need to have about 9/11 is that it was 3 towers that went down. And then the second thing as a historian is that we have to find out the reason why they go down. And the classic reason is the towers went down because they were hit by the planes. That's the classic reason. And here the problems start because the third tower was not hit by a plane. So it has to be another reason, why it goes down. And then I was teaching at Zurich University in Switzerland, a course for the history students. The history students are 20 to 25 years old, and they're obviously very interested to find out what happened on 9/11. So we first waited a few years. Okay, historians always wait a few years and see how things develop. And then we took the 9/11 Commission report, which is a 600 pages thick book, published by the American government, by Bush, if you want. And Bush put his hand on it and said, that's the truth about 9/11. So, we immediately flipped through the pages, and you can also find it as a PDF on the internet today, and do a search, a digital search. Enter WTC7. And you will find that the building World Trade Center 7 is mentioned in the report a few times, but it's not mentioned that it collapsed. And that is a huge problem for historians, okay? The number of buildings that collapsed is not correct in this report. And that's, the basis for the Bundeswehr, which is the German army, that they are in Afghanistan. So we're now faced with the story of, okay, the number of buildings is not correct, and we are in this so-called war on terrorism. What is it? What is the war on terrorism? It's very delicate, and I just have to remind you that in New York, obviously, you have a lot of tall buildings, but I'm from Switzerland. We don't have many tall buildings. The tallest building in Switzerland is in Basel, and it's called the Roche Tower. Roche is a pharmaceutical company, some of you might know. And it's the tallest building is roughly 178 meters. Now, World Trade Center 7 obviously was in the midst of Manhattan, where you have a lot of tall buildings, and it's 186 meter high. So in Switzerland, World Trade Center 7 would have been the tallest building. Had it come down, people would make a huge investigation. Everybody would know it. But in New York, it's like a tree in a big forest. It falls, people don't realize. And what we then see is that, okay, it fell on 9/11. This is before, and this is after. And it really fell into its own footprint. It totally collapsed, and part of it was free fall. So we have, and this is a very serious debate, is did it collapse due to fires or controlled demolition? Okay. That's a very delicate question, because if it fell due to controlled demolition, we don't understand 9/11. We don't understand it. If it fell due to fire, okay, then you can say, okay, the fire was induced by debris which fell down from the Twin Towers. So this is what historians right now look at. And maybe just give you more details on 9/11. What we now know is Chapter 7, the World Trade Center 7 collapsed on that day. And then we look at architects and engineers in the United States. They are leading the investigation into the collapse of World Trade Center 7. There are some 2,750 architects. Now you wonder, why are the architects so interested into this building? Because architects build these buildings, and they say they should not collapse. Okay? That's why they're very interested. And this guy is called Richard Gage, and he created a foundation which is called Architects, Engineers, 9/11 Truth in 2006. So it's 5 years after 9/11. You have what you call an investigative movement in the United States to look into this. Because he realized, that in this report, sorry to go back, World Trade Center 7 is not even mentioned. So he quickly realized, we're talking about basic scientific data. We need more clarity. And he says, we want a truly independent investigation because government agency investigation into the collapse of World Trade Center 1, 2, and 7 have not addressed massive evidence for explosive demolition. So what architects and engineers want to know is, were these buildings destroyed by controlled demolition? That's the question they put forward. And how do they do it?